Welcome to California Live Podcast. Today we have an exceptional guest, living legend, Mr. Frank Zane. Mr. Frank, thank you so much for your time, for coming to the show and sharing with our viewers and with me some details of your story and your success story.
My pleasure, Victor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Zane, I would like to begin with the early ages of your life, and you with so much success in the business which you were in. Could you please share with us what was the earliest age that you would remember yourself?
Probably about 13 or 14 years old. That's when I started training.
What was the inspiration behind your trainings, the discipline, everything that you put together?
It was the bodybuilding magazines. In the town where I grew up, there was a Backdate magazine store, and I would go over there and buy these magazines and then read all about, the bodybuilders, basically the ones on the West Coast. And that sort of inspired me to eventually get to California, which happened in 1969.
What kind of sources you were using when you started bodybuilding?
Well, I did most of my training at the YMCA, the Wilkes-Barre YMCA. And then there was a man who had a gym. His name was Bob Sicoli, and he owned called the Victory Pig Barbecue. And he had a nice home gym, and I trained there as well.
Who was your main inspiration back then when you have just started?
Well, it was always Steve Reeves. I liked the way I saw him in the Hercules movies, and I really liked the way he looked. And that was my goal, was to, look that way myself. And so I set about doing it.
You are known for the most aesthetic physique. Why did you decide to take this route instead of putting a lot of mass on and take the route which all the other bodybuilders were trying to do or doing?
Well, you might say it chose me because I was lean, and it was better for me to go in that direction rather than to bulk up and get huge. I weighed when I started 140, and I ended up competing in the 170 to 180 range, and eventually I settled in at 190, and that was my best body weight for competition. And that's when I won my last Mr. Olympia, weighing 190.
You are known as a chemist, as a very wise and educated person. How did you combine these two directions?
I have a master's degree in education, and basically I have degrees in 3 different universities. Wilkes University in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I've a bachelor's degree in secondary education, and then California State University, Los Angeles, bachelor's degree, bachelor of science in psychology, and then California State University, San Bernardino, master's degree in clinical psychology.
All of these studies, they require time, a lot of work, and bodybuilding requires time and work. How did you combine these two paths together?
I was disciplined. I set aside time for studying as well as training, and it was nothing new to me. I'd been that way my whole life. When I was going to high school, I managed to graduate first in my class, so I was pretty well disciplined in my study habits. And, I just applied that to continuing to apply to my study habits and then also to my training.
What was the main inspiration or power source for you to build this discipline? Discipline is a difficult thing to obtain and to maintain. What was your secret of success in this discipline?
I had no secret. Something I wanted to do. And I realized that I had to stick to it, and so I did. I remember there's a television show called think it was called Men of Annapolis. I was inspired by, the Naval Academy, and I actually wanted to go to Annapolis to Naval Academy, and I almost did, but instead I got a scholarship to college, and I went there instead, and that was how I got started. And then, I became a teacher, teaching mathematics in first year in Pennsylvania, second year New Jersey, the next 3 years in Florida, and then the next 8 years in Los Angeles City Schools. Then in 1977, I retired from that and did bodybuilding full time.
How did you feel when you decided to retire from teaching, from being around students and doing bodybuilding the full time? Did you feel that something's missing, or that was pure decision and you felt 100% happy about it?
Well, I was happy about it. I didn't feel anything was missing because I realized I'd still be teaching. I would be teaching bodybuilding. And in 1980, we opened up what I call Bodybuilding Learning Center in Palm Springs. We called it Zane Haven. And I still do a version of that now in La Mesa. I have my own personal gym that people come from all over, and I train them and I train with them. So I'm still doing it.
You've done very successfully in bodybuilding and all the endeavors that you've been doing. You've sold a lot of books, a lot of bestsellers. How and where did you get business knowledge in order to be successful in business?
Well, I just followed through on what everybody else was doing. I basically got with Simon and Schuster. I was put in touch with an agent and got with Simon and Schuster and published our first book called The Zane Way to a Beautiful Body. And it sold very well. And so we got another book deal right after that called Super Bodies in 12 Weeks. And then after that, we started self-publishing because I learned that we could do that just as easily. And Fabulously Fit Forever was the next publication. And after that, I came out with 3 different books. Let's Grow, Symmetry, and I forget the name of the third one. But basically, they all got condensed into what's this one right here, the Zane Bodybuilding Manual. So this is the one that's currently available. It's 436 pages, and everything about me is contained in here. I call that the textbook. And then the workbook is this one here, 91 Day Wonder Body. It's 3 months of what to do, exactly what to do every day for 3 months. So between the workbook and the textbook, you have complete guidance through your whole workout. Then I have a workout DVD as well, that you can see the form and the movements.
Back to your story, sir. If you could share with us a little bit about your most difficult moments, most challenging moments in your career. What were they, and how did you manage to navigate out of them, whether it was successfully or maybe not as much as you would hope?
I can't think of anything that was that difficult or challenging. In 1968, I was competing. I won Mr. America, IFBB Mr. America in New York one weekend. And the next week I was in Miami competing for IFBB Mr. Universe, and I beat Arnold Schwarzenegger for that title.
Right.
Then after that, I moved to California and became friends with him and training partner, and we worked out together. And we didn't compete not until 1980 against each other. But in the meantime, I managed to win Mr. Olympia 1977, 78, 79.
How did you build and develop your relationship, not just with Mr. Arnold, but with other professionals who are competing next to you?
Well, it was all in going to the same gym. We went to Gold's Gym in Venice, and everybody trained there. And so, we got to be friends. And when we were on the gym, we always helped each other. and it was an act of, total cooperation. So that's how it all became, a real thing. I wasn't always competing against those people I trained together with.
Hmm.
Toward the end it was like that, but even so, we still helped each other. We gave each other feedback. Like in 1970, I competed in NABA Mr. Universe Amateur, and Arnold was competing in the professional division. And he gave me feedback the whole time about what he thought I should do about my posing routine, for example. There's one pose I did in the middle, the vacuum pose. He said I should do it at the end because it was my best. So I did, and it was very, very, very good to do that. So, we didn't hold anything back on knowledge.
You mentioned that you competed against Mr. Arnold and you won, and then the situation happened on Mr. Olympia, but it was backwards. How did that feel when Mr. Arnold came back?
Well, in 1980, he made a comeback, and I think it was basically in 1979. I won it the last time I won it. He was doing MC for TV, and he asked me how it felt to win Mr. Olympia for the third time, and I said, Arnold, it feels even better than when I beat you for Mr. Universe. And I think that angered him, so he came back the next year, and it was debatable as to if he should have won. It always is. He wasn't in his best shape, but he was okay. So that's how it all got started.
What is your perspective? What are your thoughts on the development of bodybuilding? Back then, it was more, to my knowledge, it was more aesthetic. Now people are running towards more mass, being bigger, bigger, bigger. What is your perspective on this development, on this trend?
Well, they have an aesthetic division too.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't maybe have the same prestige as the mass version. But, I think it's progressing, and it attracts more people. Bodybuilders are attracted to one or the other. They feel where are their best chances, and so they go with that avenue.
Having all your knowledge, your experience, what would you foresee for bodybuilding's development in the future?
I have no idea. I think it all depends on who the top champions are. Mm-hmm. And what they promote. I think that's really good in today's market is Michael Hearn. He's big. He's like 270 pounds, and he's got good proportions, and good looking guy, and he's got everything going. I think if he continues along those lines, I think he'll do really well overall if that's what he decides to do. But a lot of things happen, like he maybe get some offers to be in movies and may decide to go that route. It's actually more lucrative to do that than to, just hack it out in bodybuilding, because the rewards still, it's more rewards now than there were before. The winner for the Olympia now, I think they get $400,000. Mm-hmm. When I won it the last time, it was $20,000, which was more than it had been, and it keeps going up. So, it all depends on what they want to do, what direction they want to go with it.
Did you think about developing your career in film and television? And if yes or no, what reasons did you have to either pursue it or not?
I did do a certain amount of that, but you got to go where the calls are. And so I had some opportunities. I took advantage of them. Mm-hmm. I had some commercials, which I did. But, it basically didn't land me a lasting career, whereas bodybuilding did. I developed a really good reputation in bodybuilding, winning top titles. So I stuck with it. And then also for training people, I, developed that too. And so I've stuck with that too.
When you're training other people, did you change anything in your training regimen since the first time you began training other people and today? It's
pretty much the same. When people come to see me, it's either for 1, 2, or 3 days. All depends. So if they come for one day, we go through a full body routine. Not as many exercises but everything that covers the whole body. If they come for 2 days, we do a two-way split. Upper body one day, legs and abs the next day. But most of them come for a three-way cycle, which was pulling muscles, legs, pushing muscles. That's back biceps forms day 1, calves and thighs day 2, chest, shoulder, triceps day 3, abdominals every day, some aerobics every day too. So that's the way I handle it.
Except for these training plans, 2 days or 3 days, which other projects are you developing?
Well, that's basically it. That covers the whole training regimen, those 3 programs. People come in either, depending if they're for 1, 2, or 3 day program, we do that. Aside from that, I have a hobby, which is archery, which I shoot with my training partner. I have a range on the side of my house, and I shoot compound bow and a recurve bow. And that's one of my activities that I do aside from training.
Thank you so much, sir. And the last question, your 3 tips of success for the younger generation who are into bodybuilding or other sports maybe, and into the show business, which bodybuilding is a big part of.
I think the most important thing is to find a program that works for you and then stick with it. Keep doing it. Nothing's accomplished overnight. Keep doing it. Get feedback of your results. Take photos. Have photos taken so you could see how your body is changing and developing. And then just continue training. Go into competitions and get feedback on how you're doing and how you look.